So what we want to talk about today is already in the title. The crux of the matter is I want to showcase a bit about my experience and what TPM interviewers actually look for in candidates with either a strategy or some sort of operational experience and even analytics experience in terms of what actually matters in the role. What does the T even mean in terms of how technical you need to be? And then we'll also look at how you can reposition yourself and reframe your background if you are interested in learning more about TPM roles and figuring out how your background already satisfies most of the requirements, right? So the thesis that seeing what I gone through in my experience want to pitch to you is that these issues are all fixable. And it's funny actually that there's a lot of confusion and poor understanding of what technical project program managers, are actually doing in the market. There's a lot of talk about software engineers, product managers, project managers, but technical program managers is a bit of a weird species. So I'll be trying to demystify it as we go. So let's start from what actually matters in the role. So here's a bit of the misconception that I keep seeing. So in terms of candidates or just people that I talk to in the industry. So the first and the big one is that you need to be able to code proficiently and at software engineering level to be credible and dangerous from a technical program manager sphere. It's actually not the case. I mean, you do need to, yes, understand code at a deep enough level to be able to understand what's going on in the conversations at a high level again, and be able to spot risks and ask the right questions of the engineering team. But you're not going to be expected to ship it at production level. So that's the big misconception that I see. And then from a system design perspective, the same is also true. While it is important to be knowledgeable about software architecture and system design fundamentals, I would argue that the more even important thing is to be able to bridge that gap between what a technical solution from an architecture perspective is, and then what does it actually mean and represent and imply for the business impact and the problem that you're trying to solve. So systems architecture is not solely the engineer's problem, but you do actually own this bridge and constant exercise of translating the business terms to the technical terms and vice versa. You also do not need a computer science degree or technical background. While those things absolutely help, you do actually operate at your best and are super useful to the team when you actually produce the right deliverables that signal one to the engineering team that you have credibility and you know what you're talking about, but you're also signaling to the program teams and the business teams that you're actually bringing the program and the project forward to progress and hopefully to a solution or an end. So what I want to argue about, and not really argue about, my message is that your years, if you come from an operational background or analytics background or some sort of strategy and ops background, your years of experience are absolutely super relevant if you're interested, or you will be interested in the future if you're not today, in taking and learning more about becoming a technical program manager and working as a TPM. And I would say most 70 to 80%, I think what you actually need, you already actually possess and cover. Yes, there's a 20 to 30% gap that maybe there's in terms of technical skills, and we'll go into them in a second. But the key message is that the gap is not your experience. It's more of how you signal it and position. So let's also demystify what technical actually means for TPMs. And I see there's three buckets, right? So one is definitely certifications and projects that show proof that you can learn in technical environments. These are super useful. These can be heard theoretically while taking courses, but also on the job by just working in close proximity to teams or technical domains. And then coupling that with domain knowledge in terms of the function or the business department or just the language of the business showcases that you also can map that technical expertise to specific domain knowledge. For example, if you work in sales operations or marketing or in the finance world or in the compliance area, knowing what metrics those functions and departments care most about, what are the typical process of that function or that domain, then helps you really understand the business domain and connect it back to what technical solutions you need to be able to deliver. Bringing it all together is also, I would say, being able to work in an agile way. Nowadays, you may have heard of agile ways of working, agile frameworks, and these overall showcase that you can operate inside an engineering team or even working closely with engineering teams. And I would even argue most teams that are not engineering teams are probably working in agile ways according to agile principles, at least to an extent today. If you've never heard of agile or worked in an agile manner, I've dropped there that you do have relatively easy certifications that you pick up in a week. I linked there the Professional Scrum Master 1 certification that's acts as a good credibility signal. But I would say if you work in industry or tech today, you will have already had this exposure to a degree. So these are the three key elements that I think make up the technical skill map, as I would call it, for technical program managers.